Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We finally come to the last panel here. Hope you still have the energy to for our last panel to start discussing about the creative economy towards 2026 and beyond. So this is a very tough topics to discuss. And here we will discuss about the how the creative economy has emerged as a central pillar of sustainable development, social inclusion, intercultural dialogue, international influence, and tourism in Asia and I think I have to change this, not the Pacific, but Oceania. Since our last panel previously mentioned about this. And since the first World Conference on Creative Economy, or WCCE, was held in 2018, the creative economy has featured in UN resolutions in 2020 and 2023. G20 Leaders Declaration in 2022 and 2023, and the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework and Vision 2045. And building on this momentum and the key lessons of the publication of the Creative Economy 2030 by ADBI, the upcoming Creative Economy, Our Common Future seminar will provide a platform to improving knowledge, enhancing regional collaboration, and more fully unlocking the socio-economic potential of the creative economy in Asia and the Oceania. So, without further ado, first I would like to introduce our three honorable speakers for the fifth panel or the last panels. First one, I would like to introduce Pak Vicky Satari, or usually I call him Kang Vicky, or Kang is a Sundanese term, and in English it's mean bro. As a chairman of Indonesia Creative Cities Network. So all the Creative Cities Network is under his organization. So overlooking like how many cities as a member, 260 cities, more than that as a member of ICCN now. And the second speaker is Mr. Jonathan Tan Ghee Tiong, as a head of the Culture and Information Division, Sustainable Development Directorate at the ASEAN Secretariat. ASEAN Secretariat, if you remember, if you took MRT, they have the station. ASEAN Secretariat. And the last speakers is Hang Jun Lee, the Deputy Director at the Global Network Division, Korean Foundation of International Cultural Exchange, or in short, is COFIS. There's a funny story about Hang Jun, because last year, he invite me to a forum hosted by COFIS here in Jakarta, in the same place, in the same room. So I said, now it's my turn to invite you. So we are exchanging invitation on the seminar. So without further ado, I would like to give the first floor to Kang Vicky Satari to present his deck and explain about the creative economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mas Ricky. Okay. Test first. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, respectable audience, and also best friends, all the speakers, Mas Ricky. Thank you for having me here. Today we embark on a journey exploring the impact and future of the creative economy as we pave the way to the World Conference on Creative Economy 2024. It's a pleasure to be here today to discuss the contribution of the Indonesia Creative Cities Network, ICCN, to the global creative economy policy landscape. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, I have this one. Okay. Over the past few years, ICCN has been an active participant in shaping key policy recommendation globally, especially related to the development of the creative economy. For instance, during the U20 Riyadh G20 Summit in 2020, ICCN contribute to discussion on an inclusive creative economy and the future of work. Additionally, in 2021, ICCN authored an ADBI policy brief focused on fostering an inclusive and resilient creative economy for sustainable development and recovery. Fast forward to 2022, ICCN play a pivotal role in the development of the Bali Creative Roadmap at the WCCE. This momentum continued in last year where ICCN Insight on the future of the creative economy highlight the importance of creative hubs as the core of community resilience, a vision shared through their work with connectivity. Okay. Aligned with the SDGs, ICCN has established 10 fundamental principles for creative city structure around the 4 pillars of SDG: people, prosperity, planet, and peace and partnership. These principles serve as essential guidelines for cities and regency in Indonesia, ensuring they can effectively promote and sustain creative activities. From this foundation, ICCN developed the concept of Catai Kadasa, outlining 11 ways to help cities and regencies implement these principles successfully. Moreover, ICCN actively maps and collaborates with various stakeholders in the creative economy. Initially focusing on the triple helix models, academia, business, and government, this network now extends to include communities, media, and aggregators. This collaborative model emphasizes a progression from connecting and collaborating to achieving commercial success, underscoring the interdependence of the ecosystems for pillars, creators, product, markets, and R&D. So, at ICCN, inclusivity is paramount. We recognize the importance of aggregator as the sixth helix role acknowledged in our contribution to the ADBI in November 2021. Yeah. Start from triple helix, plus communities at quadruple helix, plus media at pentahelix, and we introduced the sixth helix in 2020 in our national coordinating meeting in Bali. So aggregator as a crucial component for us. As you can see at slide, prime example, the aggregators models impact can be seen in the case study of Lokanima. We support animation studios, about 25 micro and small studio in the special economic zone of Singosari, Malang. This initiative addresses critical challenges such as economy of scale, the standardization of product from quality and the capacity and quantity, and access to financing and markets. The aggregator business is designed to build sustainable competitive advantages for creative enterprises, enhancing their resilience through difficult phases and promoting social sustainability. This model is built on 3 pillars: market-oriented culture, digital capability, and corporate reputation. In ICCN, we understand that the 4 main bases for the creative economy development are technology, media, innovation, and art and culture. That's the reason why ICCN believe that the cultural value has to be the main characteristic of creative economy development. In last year, 2023, ICCN organized the Gerakan Culture untuk Jenama Berdaya, a movement aimed at empowering local brands. This initiative, part of National Cultural Week by the Ministry of Education and Culture, engaged creative community representative for 37 provinces across Indonesia. By curating and guiding this representative, We help formulate city branding and placemaking programs. This movement not only map and empowered community-initiated programs, but also promoted collaboration among multiple stakeholders, leveraging local specialties and domestic advantage. Okay. Indonesia Creative Cities Index, the ICCI as a robust tool designed to measure the development, ecosystem, and impact of the creative economy in Indonesia creative cities and regencies. Drawing from several global creative city indexes, the ICCI framework is tailored to monitor and evaluate creative economy progress within local contexts. Based on 10 creative city principles, ICCI aligns seamlessly with a government performance indicator simplifying adoption by city and regency governments. The ICCI dashboard further facilitates better policy design and decision making related to creative economy. Okay. The ICCI is a comprehensive index involving detailed studies on government indicators, global creative city indexes, and the 10 creative city principles. It consists of 3 main layers. First, Creative City Development Index, monitor essential factors for creative economy development. Second, Creative Ecosystem Index, maps and measure the creative economy ecosystem. Third, Creative Cities Growth Index, calculate the impact of creative economy to the city or regency as the main indicator of the creative economy growth. With more than 600 indicators synthesized into these 3 layers, the ICCI provides a holistic view of creative economy progress. Finally, let's look at practical implementation of the Creative Cities Index in the 27 cities in West Java, cities and regencies, focusing on 17 creative industry subsectors. Shown in the slide are subsector fashion, music, and application and game development. Initiated in 2020, the implementation has been pivotal in measuring development progress, demonstrating the effectiveness of the index as a tool for creative economy and advancement. That concludes my presentation, and thank you for your attention. Looking forward to further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. So there's one. The Creative Cities book can be downloaded, available online?
You can contact with Tita.
Oh, there's
Tita
representative. So Tita will distribute the book if any of you interested
We
to
have
have this
also
book.
the printed version. Yes.
Oh, the printed version. Okay. Next, then we move to Jonathan. Jonathan, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pak Ricky. I think first of all, I have to say that every time it's a good thing to come to a forum where there's a gathering of creative makers and a creative breed of administrators and policy makers, because they are very different from the usual bureaucrats. And it's a privilege to be here. And first of all, of course, on behalf of the ASEAN Secretariat, I would like to thank the organizers in extending an invitation to us. My presentation is going to be really short because I only have 4 slides. I was trying to meet the requirements set by the organizer and keep to the 4 slides. Okay, it's moving now. So first thing I'd like to highlight here is that the creative economy holds great potential for ASEAN. If you can see from this table that is from WIPO, Global Innovation Index, you could see that many of the ASEAN member states are in the top 50 in terms of creative outputs that actually aggregate the performance capacities in intangible assets, the online creativity and goods, creative goods and services. And therefore, we do see that there is great potential in ASEAN for us to promote the development of the creative economy. Sorry, this one. Okay. Okay, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons, but okay. But however, if you really look at, I'm speaking this really from a regional perspective of ASEAN. Creative economy is really everywhere, but nowhere near in having the potential being realized, at least in this in our region. And I think that there are many reasons, why this is so. But I would like to just highlight two specific reasons. I think first reason is, of course, that creative economy itself speaks to multiple policy areas. And therefore, the underlying challenge is that where do you start? Who to engage and what to focus on, right? Because it speaks to many policy areas that cut across, from culture and the arts, information and media, to education, labor, to, of course, digital economy, data governance, intellectual property rights, etc. So as a result of them speaking to so many policy areas, I think that we are also, in a way, not quite sure where and what we should engage and who and what areas we should really focus on. That's for one. And partly also owing to the fact that at the regional institutional level itself, we don't have a coordinating mechanism, a platform that brings together very different sectors from both the economic pillars as well as, of course, from the social cultural pillar, to really dialogue and determine the way forward in terms of promoting the development of the creative economy. The second reason I would see that creative economy is everywhere but nowhere, also looking at the fact that in the ASEAN region, the creative economy is actually a two-speed, or rather two-tiered economy, if you like. So on one hand, you have the creative enterprises that are tech-savvy and enabled, and they are fully plugged into the international markets. Yet, on the other hand, you have the locally anchored cultural enterprises that are situated in the informal economy and local communities that are not really plugged into the international markets. And because of this two-speed, two-tiered economy, you really require very tailored interventions and policy support. And therefore, I think that this is where I would also allude to the fact that while the potential of the creative economy is there, we are nowhere near in fully realizing the potential of it. So now, for the purpose of this presentation, I would then just want to share two particular critical building blocks that I think we are actually lacking. And I think the first is, of course, the clarity, especially on the concept and contribution of the cultural enterprises and creative industries to the ASEAN creative economy. And there is also a lack of meaningful data collection. And why is data collection important? I think that I wasn't here this morning, but I heard quite a bit from my colleagues as well that there was some panel discussions already highlighted this. But I would like to add that data analysis is important because unless we have good data analysis on the social and economic benefits of the creative economy, we cannot quite able to inform the policy making at the regional level to come out with interventions that can support the sector itself. And therefore, we think that data collection is key. And the other reason that data collection is also important is that it also helps to build an evidence-based monitoring and evaluation framework that then could help us to create a more compelling narrative about the potential of creative economy with the purpose of driving public and private investments into the sector. And therefore, the storytelling part is very important, but it ought to be underpinned by meaningful data collection. And of course, that the data collection is also very important in helping us to inform better informed policy making to come out with targeted policy interventions. The other challenge here is, of course, that as I mentioned, there is a lack of coordinated stakeholder actions. And by stakeholder here, I don't just mean the governments, but the relevant private sectors and entities involved. And there is also, as a result of that, there's a lack of ecosystem to facilitate a virtuous cycle of capitalization, development of the industry infrastructure, and the recapitalization. And here I want to just highlight that when I mean by capitalization, it's not just about investing and reinvesting financially back into the sectors. The financing is important, but we are also talking about recapacitating the industries, right? And by that I mean really about nurturing, training of the second generations of creative makers. And this will be something that is also very important as well, right? Coming to my last slide, I would like to just share with you very briefly about some of the regional initiatives. And I want to give a shout out to my colleagues from the UK, because we have been working with the UK through the UK mission to ASEAN, as well as with the British Council. Oh yes, Summer and Anila is there. So, for their very strong support in working with us to come up with the ASEAN UK Advancing Creative Economy initiative that Kemi has earlier from the British Council has shared. But I would like to just highlight that we are also working with them on the development of a creative economy sustainability framework. And I just want to take a moment here to share with you what this framework entails. We are looking at a framework of 4 critical quadrants: the cultural outcomes, the social outcomes, the economic outcomes, and the environmental outcomes. So for example, for the social outcomes, we are going to look at indicators such as the quality of life, the well-being. Cultural outcomes, we are going to look at cultural transmissions, recognition, and environmental outcomes, we will be looking at possibly ESG, climate actions, and economic outcomes, of course, we look at the market positions and the employment. This framework, this year, going to next year, we are going to workshop and try to develop this framework to look at these 4 critical quadrants. And one other thing that we are going to do with the support of the UK through the British Council and the UK mission to ASEAN is that we are going to commission the first ever regional perception poll on ASEAN creative economy. And this survey will be coming up in the next couple of months. And I do encourage and extend the invitation to you to fill in this survey as well. We are going to have a survey for general public, as well as a survey specifically for creative makers and trade associations and businesses associated with the creative making industries. Yeah. So with that, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you for emphasizing the importance of data, since we live in a very data-driven era, even for the creativity when we're talking about business. All is about data-driven. So, Hanjun, before I move the floor to you, I would like to convey a message from some audience that whispering to me before this panel begin. They said, if Hangjun will tell us in the closing presentation that the BTS will come to Tashkent in Uzbekistan next October, because if that happens, they will book the flight right away, Jakarta to Tashkent, right after the panel close. So it's just a joke. Please, the floor is yours, Hangjun.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for having me here. And I think almost end of day, people are leaving and sleeping, and I saw that many people just keep watching the telephone. Yeah, compared to the other speaker, my presentation is quite different because I'm a very practical person and my background is curator. So I'm starting as a cultural worker when I was really young to volunteer for the film festival. So my presentation is I just want to highlight the key moments last 30 years in South Korea. So maybe some of the facts and some of the events might be really inspiring to me, and hopefully that the thing I'm going to share today also inspiring to the audience, I believe. And before I start the presentation, let us imagine this site-specific moment as a film production. So let's say we have a podium and there's audience, and there's a people who holding the camera. There's always people who keep standing. That's the cultural worker. That's the people we need to care. So last 30 years, what South Korea government did, care about the people's working condition, and also care about the social welfare. And then whenever they made certain content, help them to circulating the content outside of South Korea, and also protect the copyright, something like that. So when we see any event, any cultural production happening, we need to care about the people, the people's working condition. That's the beginning of the creative economy, I believe. So I'm going to share some of the key moments in South Korea from 1993. Whenever I thinking about the creative economy, to my mind, I always thinking about the software. Maybe everybody knows about the Photoshop, Premiere Pro, Pro Tools, Ableton Live, and those all software developed almost 30 years ago. And those software developed by computer science students. So creative economy based on the science actually. Everyone knows about those programs. And those programs actually infrastructure of our creative mind. So one of the reasons I suggest this event, 1993, there was a Daejeon Expo, and there was a Whitney Biennial in Seoul. So that was one of the first time and the last time the Whitney Biennial circulating outside of the United States because of the help of the Namjoon-baek. And these two events, I mean, to me, when I was young, I was visit the Daejeon Expo. To my mind, I got a concept of technology to see the real object and what is the real thing happen in a society. And actually, I was thinking to sharing this song, but I just explained about this song. So this year, the Gwangju Biennial celebrate the 30th anniversary. So this is the beginning of the international event. So how South Korea trying to globalize and internationalize our society using the contemporary art. So when I was young, I still remember this song. So this is one of the theme song, which is very strange. I mean, the biennial have a theme song. It's really strange mind, but back then there was a theme song. And then one of the lyric, they mentioned how biennial is international. So all the idea coming from what is the international. And then back then, South Korea want to really become an international country. And also, this is the beginning of the Gwangju Biennial. I think I was there when I was young with the national flag. And then I remember, I thinking that is, because I don't have any concept of biennial. So I was thinking maybe that is the Olympic event, something like that. So this is the beginning of the Gwangju Biennial. As you can see, this is more like other event. This looks like another art event. Yeah. And then again, 1996, the Busan International Film Festival started. And many of my foreign friends asked me, why there's no festival in Gwangju? So people thinking about Busan identify as the film, and Gwangju identify as art. But it was not. At the beginning of 1995, 1996, there was an art event in Busan and Gwangju. There was a film event in Gwangju and Busan. But certain moment, Busan and Gwangju divide into two sectors, film and contemporary art. And this is one of the milestone exhibition in South Korea. So 1996, there was an exhibition called Seoul in Media. So this is symbolized Seoul from 1988. There was a Seoul Olympic. And then 2002, the World Cup event announced, I believe that was 1995 or something. So back then, South Korea trying to reinterpret the Seoul as a media city. So this is one of the first exhibition about the media. And then 1996, we don't have a proper curatorial department, and we don't have any people working at inside the museum. So throughout this mega event, mega exhibition, we're thinking about how we learning the language of contemporary art, language of media and technology. And this is actually not many people mentioned about this festival, and this last festival also initiated by the South Korean government, but originally started from United States. So this festival, one of the first digital film festival in the world. So this festival started in mid-90s until around 2010, something like that. So when I was young, I visited this festival. I saw the people who realized the film and the motion graphic and the design and even the fashion, and all the cool people visit this festival because those programs keep circulating the more than 40 countries. And then the Korean version of the Red Fest, who attended the competition program, they can attend the more than 20 country screening program. So for me, this is one of the first event give me the idea about the circulating the certain contents beyond the border. And behind the circulating contents, how certain country disseminating the idea about the history. Yeah. And 2001, actually, although I mentioned about the one of the palace name, but I believe one of the most important thing happened from that period is the internet. So from that period, South Korea, one of the most highly advanced society in terms of wireless connected. So more than the art policy, from that period, South Korea spent a lot of money for the infrastructure, for the internet and other telecommunication. And then 2005 started the fund of fund, meaning many of the ministries spend the money on the same account. And then there's some other sub-account, and then we can, let's say there's some account for the cinema, so the government spend the money for the cinema to produce some content. But there's some pros and cons about this fund, but recently there's some policy announcement about, like, let's say, these days one of the biggest problem is because of the OTT, the cinema getting really going down. Yeah. So one of the policy called hold back, meaning when they release the cinema, the government trying to force not to go to the OTT, like let's say 1 month, something like that. So there's a pros and cons, but within that kinds of funds, government still control, in a way, the creative economy, the cinema, something like that. And then again, one of the biggest agency announcement, the 2009. So this is the beginning of the Korea Creative Content Agency. So this is the merge with the broadcasting, the game, and the other 4 agency all together. So we are trying to invent a mega agency to support the creative industry in South Korea. This is quite an interesting fact. 2011, in Korea, we have so many national art company, like National Ballet, National Orchestra, something like that. So between the arts company, it's really difficult to find the proper communication. But we know we need a lot of interdisciplinary project. So 2011, they set up the Association of the Korea National Arts Company. So from the theater, ballet, orchestra, and blah, 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 and many different sectors, they starting to collaborate and making one voice together, something like that.
So this is association, not government agency, right?
Association of the government agency. Oh. Yeah. I think this is what Tan mentioned about the data collection. So from the 2011, the South Korea, the sub-agency spend a lot of money to collect the data. So KOBIZ, Korean Film Biz Zone, they start to collect all the information about Korean film industry. So this is one of the capture the information. So we can see all the numbers of the audience number and the money and how many screens. So this is also another data collection. So this is, we started in 2012 by the copies with the Ministry of Culture. So we call Overseas Hallyu Survey. And this is another data collection, the Global Hallyu Status by Korea Foundation under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. One of the reasons I'm sharing this data, the problem is the Korea Foundation's data collection and copies data collections is kind of not really based on causation. It's correlation. So all the government data sometimes not really based on causation. Meaning, if someone likes the Korea content, they will probably buy some Korean product. But it's just assumed, not a causation. Yeah. And this is another data collection started by the Korea Art Management Service. It's called KOPIS, KOPIS, the Korea Performing Art Box Office Information. And this is another data collection, Korea Tourism Data Rep. And actually this data is for the Cultural City project in South Korea. And probably the audience knows about the situation in South Korea. The population is really downsizing within the 30 years. So all the local city and local government trying to reinvent the city as a cultural symbol. So the Korea tourism data kinds of support policy making. So why certain city focus on certain genre or certain festival or something like that. So we have so many data set, data collection. This is the exhibition organized by 2022 by Victoria Albert Museum. one of the reasons I suggest this. I explained before there are too many data, too many agency, too many policy in South Korea. But the problem is we always focus on present. We need to focus on diachronic and synchronic approach together. But whenever we're talking about the Hallyu, we're always talking about now, present. But this is one of the first exhibition talking about the Hallyu within a historical context. But of course, created by Victoria Albert Museum. So in my foundation, me, including my colleague, we're thinking about these kinds of exhibition a lot. How we can present Hallyu outside the Korea. And this is the last one. 2023, the CAMS, the Korea Art Main Service, they announced, they also set up the building called Art Korea Lab. And this is really based on the data collection actually. So what kinds of physical space need? So they set up a Art Korea Lab to connect the business to artists. I'm going to share some of the quotation from the CEO of the Art Basel. Although the 2024, the Art Basel announced the new annual report, the analyzed art market, but I mentioned there are too many data, too many agency, too many data-oriented policy making, but like what he said, the art market is about the human-to-human movement and the unique object. We can analyze, but we cannot understand. We cannot understand, we cannot promote, we cannot approach. This is, I think, a last slide. So I think there is some famous book called Narrative and Numbers. As we see, 10 million won cinema. And this is 20,050 cinema. So let's say in Korea, many people watch just one movie, state of the over-communication. I'm not sure which state is better or not. And what kinds of policy we need to chase the just one cinema or 50 cinema. But just one cinema, there's not much narrative, but number is big. Thank you.
Thank you, Haijun. So you also emphasize the importance of data and how South Korea working everything towards the data collection, but you're also challenging all of these things because we are on the creative industry. So human to human understanding is very important after we analyze all the data and creating a new algorithm in order to expand our creative ideas and products to the market. For this, I think I drop a few questions first to Kang Vicky. That's your presentation today showing us the creative economy can provide as a vehicle for social inclusion and community empowerment. But however, many creative practitioners at the local level remain locked into informal economies. So that's the fact that we're facing in Indonesia. And out of the socio-cultural and commercial benefit of the creative sectors. So how can we progress toward the formalization of the creative economy and ensure the model of rewards reflect the contribution of creative practitioners toward their community, societies, and economies? So that's the question. Maybe I drop the question for Jonathan and Haijun first. So for Jonathan, that ASEAN also possess many of underlying benefit for the creative economy, right? Because you show the data that focus on creative economy has the support of from our political leaders from Asian countries and is embedded in Asian Vision 2045. And we can see what happened in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in Philippines, in Vietnam also progressing in that, especially in the creative sectors. So how can ASEAN more fully unlock the benefit of the regional creative economy and enhance its global impact in the year ahead? And related to your presentation, you have this Asian framework. So how we implement this framework more practically across the Asian members country. Do we need to establish commissions, special task force, or what kind of plan we have we can see ahead toward this I guess to implement this Asian Vision 2045, especially for the creative economy sectors. So and the last question I dropped to Aijun. That Korean music, food, cinema, and TV show has gained worldwide recognitions, of course, in the recent years. But you just show us the milestone in Korea at the last 30 years. How many breakthrough festivals actually inspires the young generation of Korea to be involved in the creative sectors, right? And what are the main transferable lessons that the rest of us in ASEAN especially can learn from Korea's success in fostering the creative economy? Because you you mentioned about actually we have the same problem everywhere, right? About the lack of coordination and the silo of the agencies that apparently happen also in Korea. But what is the success learning from South Korea, especially from the Korean wave that we can that can be the lesson learned, the best practice from Hallyu or Korean wave that can adopted by or adapted by other country to learn. So that's the question. Probably Vicky, you can start first. Thank you.
Yeah. Check. Yeah. Check. Tes. Hello.
Tes.
Tes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cheers. Okay, thank you, Pak Riki. Yeah, correct. Creative practitioners in the informal economy are still majority in creative economy programs, events, and activities. In Indonesia, we have about 65 micro and small enterprises, 60 million. In there, if we say micro and small is informal businesses, of course. There are steps that should be taken in order for them to join the formal economy sectors, but it requires a lot of efforts and resources. While we are attempting to go that way, the best we can do is providing intermediaries or aggregators that act as a bridge between them and a bigger industry ecosystem. These aggregators can come in many forms. Community hubs, startup companies, cooperatives, and so on. And we have those aggregators actively working on this in Indonesia. Therefore, the roles of aggregators are crucial, Riki, and as a strategic as a consolidator for those informal micro businesses practitioners. And it is most important to find a competent aggregator in order to accelerate the process of transforming the informal to the formal. I think the aggregators is the game changer for that issues. Thank you, Pak Riki.
So your aggregator could be a government agency also, a strong government agency, become aggregator.
super aggregator.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan, please.
Thank you very much, Pak Ricky. To the question, I want to respond by stating the obvious first. But I think it's worth mentioning this is that I think we need to remind ourselves that the creative economy has two very distinct components, the economic component as well as the cultural component or creative component. And this is where I think that Pak Ricky and I have the conversations before, years back, even before the pandemic, that in the regional level, there isn't really a coordinating mechanism, to bring and galvanize stakeholders from both the economic side of things as well as from the cultural and creative side of things to come together to dialogue and determine the way forward. And therefore, the reason why we are now proposing this idea about having this sustainability framework in place is really that we hope that this would also serve as an impetus for us to then generate the momentum and also, of course, the buy-in and the awareness amongst the different stakeholders that there are ways to reposition, the creative economy and how we can work together at the institutional level. And I think that's the most important thing. And just one final point I want to make here, and I always want to allude to, at the global level, you have the UNESCO Universal Declaration of Cultural Diversity that really emphasize that, and in fact, even in the G20 presidency under Indonesia and then under India as well, emphasizing the fact that creative economy cannot just be an economic driver alone. It has to be positioned as one that is an enabler for social, cultural, inclusive, and sustainable development. And this is something that we have to think about as we try to promote the development of the creative economy, that we also do not over-commodify creative goods and services and also to treat creative goods and services as vectors of identity, shared values, and meaning, going beyond just the economics, incentives and output that it can produce. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anh Jun?
I think I forgot one thing I really want to mention about creative economy. I think we usually forgot about what's the difference between the audience and the consumer. But we're always thinking about creative economy because it's consuming, but it's not. It's audience. So I think that's the really important thing we have to remember. And also in the South Korea, one of the things, many of the art and culture governmental agency, the people working it there, they're trying to be a good audience, meaning we have to watching on the site, and then we need to observe that event, and then we need to show them to support them. This is not really about the money, to show ourselves to them. So that's the common sense to working at the art and culture government agency. So that's the one thing I want to mention. The other one is, I think this is not maybe also happen in Indonesia. When we working with the Ministry of Culture, for example, we organize so many public hearing or private or public professional advisor meeting, meaning we always working closely with the private sector. So when we set up new project, for example, we already did the same thing this year. We set up some project with the Ministry of Culture, and we organizing so many meetings with the professional and the art and culture sector. So we quite closely working with the private and the government sector. So we are like coordinating between the government and the private sector. So one of the main job at my foundation. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So because we don't have so much time left, so apologize that we cannot have a Q&A session, but as a conclusion from the last panel, because the whole day panels will be concluded by Nicholas after our panel of this, and we thank you for the time, Vicky, Jun, and Jonathan, and please give a round of applause for all the speakers.